This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
When I got on scene, the schoolhouse was pretty much on the ground.
Republicans are not going to be a party to this.
Hey, let's go to the moon! I'm a conservative, and most importantly, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Multiple victims in a schoolhouse fire. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. We begin today in Crawford County, Pennsylvania. That's where a teacher and 2 students suffered serious burns when fire broke out inside an Amish school building in Crawford County, PA this morning. First alarm came in sometime after 9:30 a.m. in Spartansburg. That fire possibly started as the result of incorrect fuel being put into a lantern. Spartansburg Volunteer Fire Department Chief Chris Hughes tells Jet TV.
I was in Union City, got the call for a Amish schoolhouse fire, report of 6 to 7 patients. When I got on scene, the schoolhouse was pretty much on the ground.
The victims flown to hospitals in Buffalo for treatment. No word on their conditions yet. Our other big story today, President Trump blows the whistle as a congressional ping pong game continues. Trump this afternoon signing an executive order to get TSA employees paid, something that hasn't happened in several weeks now. This after House Republicans balked at a Senate DHS funding bill that left House Speaker Mike Johnson unimpressed.
Republicans are not going to be a party to this. They have taken hostage the funding processes of government so that they can impose their radical agenda on the American people, and we can't have any part of it.
Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman isn't happy with how his party has handled this whole funding impasse.
Do the right thing. Put the country ahead of the party. Now, there's another no kings kinds of protest. It's also probably motivating some people in my party. They might be afraid to reopen now because they are demanding these kinds of extremes.
Speaker Johnson called the Senate plan, quote, a joke. He also says Trump supports his plan to introduce a new clean resolution to fund all of DHS. The White House is waiting for Iran to respond to its 15-point plan for a ceasefire. At a gathering of G7 leaders in France today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Iranian officials had not clarified just who would be taking part in those negotiations. However, Iran's take on its dealings with the Trump administration seems far different.
The Iranians deny that they are, quote, begging to make a deal, as President Trump characterized it. Instead, there are reports that they are fortifying Kharg Island. That's that critical oil depot right off the coast of Iran.
CBS's Chris Livesay. Well, Iran has apparently won at least one cyber battle. FBI Director Kash Patel's resume and other documents posted online by hackers connected with Iran. The group, which calls itself Handala, is a known pro-Palestinian vigilante hacker group. They claim to have gotten into his personal email account, posted selfies of Patel as well as photos of him in front of cars and planes and enjoying cigars. Back to that meeting in France at the G7, Rubio also disputing Ukraine's claim that the U.S. is pressuring them to cede territory to Russia to end the 4-year-old invasion of Russia.
Security guarantees are not going to kick in until there's an end to a war, because otherwise you're getting yourself involved in the war.
Next to NASA.
Hey, let's go to the moon!
Artemis II Commander Reed Weissman arriving at Kennedy Space Center with crew members NASA's Victor Glover.
It's awesome to be here.
Canada's Jeremy Hansen.
But I got to tell you, I am fired up.
And NASA's Christina Koch.
A lot of people have been working for a long time.
Fuel leaks and other issues caused 2 months of delays, but Artemis II is set to blast off as soon as Wednesday to fly around the moon.
That's CBS's Heather Bosch. A law enforcement news conference scheduled for this hour in Florida after golfer Tiger Woods was involved in a car crash there. The Martin County Sheriff's Office says the golf superstar was involved in a rollover on Jupiter Island. That's where he lives. According to reports, it was a 2-vehicle crash, one flipping over, one person in stable condition, another refused to go to the hospital, but we don't know which one of those might be Woods. In 2021, Woods, you may remember, was seriously injured in a rollover crash in Southern California. A missing youngster from suburban Cleveland found alive and well thousands of miles away.
A 4-year-old boy from North Olmsted, Ohio, found safe by U.S. Marshals in Puerto Rico Wednesday after the boy was taken there earlier this month by his mother, Evelyn Otero, who only had limited visitation rights and who did not have custody of the boy, who we're told has severe health issues.
Any circumstance around a missing child, we want to do a good job. We want to make sure that we're proactive and we swiftly find that child as fast as we possibly can.
Deputy U.S. Marshal Jordan Fisher, the boy now back in Ohio with his father.
That's Fox's Jeff Manasso. CPAC is underway in Dallas, Texas. That's the Conservative Political Action Committee. The Reverend Franklin Graham getting a standing O on the stage Thursday for his words about Iran.
This is a critical time for our country, really, and for the entire world. We are at war with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Not the people of Iran. These are wonderful people.
Graham says he doesn't believe much in politics these days, but it honors God to protect the Iranian people.
I got fed up with the Republican Party some time ago. Got fed up with the Democrats. Well, I've always been fed up with them. But I'm a conservative. And most importantly, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ.
CPAC wraps up in Dallas on Saturday. All right, still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories and highlights from today's Capital Connection. But first, weather with Kevin. Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. We'll start in PA with an afternoon news conference by Governor Josh Shapiro, touting a new tax credit.
This is the first progressive tax bill to hit the desk of a governor in decades. And that's a big darn deal, and it's helping a whole lot of people.
Shapiro says the working Pennsylvanians tax credit will benefit nearly 1 million Keystone State residents this year.
We needed to make our tax code more progressive, and that we needed to help those who are out working and struggling and just needing a little bit of extra assistance.
That tax credit offers up to $805 in relief to eligible low to moderate income workers who qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit. Philadelphia firearms fumble. A Secret Service agent assigned to former First Lady Jill Biden injured after he accidentally shot himself in the leg at Philadelphia's airport, what's being called a negligent discharge. The agent suffered a non-life-threatening wound. No one else was injured. It happened while the agent was in an SUV outside of the airport terminal. Mrs. Biden was not in the vicinity when it happened. The Secret Service is investigating. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has won a national award for leadership when it comes to mental health policy. Here's our Sarah Harnish.
Mental Health America presented Hochul with its 2026 Governor's Leadership Award for outstanding leadership in mental health policy, citing significant and sustained investments that have strengthened mental health systems statewide. Hochul's administration has dropped $2 billion on a number of programs, including addressing social media and smartphones in schools and increasing inpatient capacity at mental health clinics. New York is ranked first in the nation on 17 indicators measuring access to mental health care. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Well, earlier this week, critics of Hochul were singing a much different tune, literally. Hundreds of environmental activists swarming the state capitol on Wednesday, upset with Hochul pushing back her once ambitious plan to reduce so-called greenhouse gas emissions over New York's current fiscal realities. State police arrested 21 of those protesters for blocking the entrance to Hochul's office, all charged with civil violations, though 3 were also hit with misdemeanor criminal charges for resisting arrest. Hunters divided over a bill in Pennsylvania that would change the opening day of rifle deer season. Senate Bill 1244 would reverse a 2019 decision by the PA Game Commission that moved the opening day of the statewide firearms deer season from the first Monday after Thanksgiving to the Saturday after the holiday. Supporters say it's about long-standing hunting traditions. Big R Bird Ranch co-owner Eric Rensels tells WNEP.
When I was younger, we would go up to the mountains the Friday after Thanksgiving. We spend a couple days just doing fun stuff with the whole family and things, and then get ready for Monday morning deer season. And it was all a tradition.
But lifelong hunter Dustin Prevost disagrees, saying the Saturday start has made hunting more accessible for some.
What I noticed was there was a group of people that were very excited because if they didn't have to take work off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they would have that Saturday and that Sunday opportunity to hunt after Thanksgiving.
Senate Bill 1244 would move, again, the opener back to Monday. State Senator Gene Yoss says a Saturday start has hit the local business community because hunters are in the fields instead of stopping by their stores. A local veteran is being honored as one of only 48 people nationwide to get the Service Beyond Service Award. Kevin Crouch from Rochester will be recognized for his 50 years of work with local fire departments after serving in Vietnam. Crouch telling WHAM.
It's my mission. Some people have a job. I always felt I had a mission. And my mission was to help my fellow firefighters to become better firefighters.
The inaugural award honors vets who served in their community after they served the nation in the military. Up next, highlights from this week's edition of Capital Connection, as our Bob Price focuses on what's up for debate in Pennsylvania and New York State with Jason McGuire from New York Families and Michael Geer with the Pennsylvania Family Institute.
We'll begin with the New York State budget. It is due next week. Last year's was the latest in 15 years. A lot of folks, Jason, are predicting this will be late as well. What are the issues that are going to be holding up the budget this year?
Yeah, I was in the Capitol yesterday. I was talking to a couple of reporters, and we're probably looking at maybe even a mid-May budget at this point, but certainly late April. There's a lot of things holding it up. I mean, the governor is trying to cut deals on pulling back some of the climate regulations that were implemented some years ago that just are not something she can meet. And so she's trying to really walk that back in an election year. There's a desire to try to work on some immigration issues. And then, of course, there's always taxation issues. We have this enormous budget. There is an enormous deficit in Buffalo and in New York City and their local budgets. And so there's a push to maybe raise taxes on all New Yorkers to bail out some of those big cities. So a lot of issues are coming up in this year's budget.
Yeah, when you spend $270 billion, it does raise a few issues. Big news out of Harrisburg, Michael. The House Democrats advancing this effort to redefine marriage in the Commonwealth, but they didn't do it alone. 26 Republicans supporting this bill, House Bill 1800. Are you surprised that many Republicans voted for this? And what does this legislation do exactly?
Well, surprised and dismayed, to put it bluntly. We're hopeful the Pennsylvania Republican Senate will not take this legislation up, so it's not going to become law. What the bill does is just redefines marriage here in Pennsylvania. I know we have the Supreme Court case in Obergefell that says same-sex marriage is okay, but Pennsylvania had a law on the books that said marriage is a union of one man and one woman. It codifies that institution, and we think it's a terrible thing that they would move to repeal it. And part of the reason that the Democrats are doing that is to benefit their LGBT base. They won't do girls' sports, etc., all because of that very powerful base, despite what the people of Pennsylvania really want.
Yeah, and they didn't take up the Fairness Act, which is good news. We've been fighting that for years, and they didn't vote on that this year. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Jason, I want to head back to Albany. Governor Hochul has earmarked $20 million for what's called the Supplemental Abortion Provider Support Fund. What exactly is that, and why should pro-lifers be concerned about that?
Yeah, in New York and across the nation, you're seeing more and more dollars being given towards the pill abortions rather than the surgical abortions. And so we have the governor that is now committing another $20 million towards those abortion pills as grant funding. And essentially, this is a bailout for big abortion or a bailout for Planned Parenthood. They are doing worse, if you will, at the federal level. And so there are states like New York that are now pouring tens of millions of dollars into Planned Parenthood to prop them up. That's a real problem that every pro-life New Yorker should be aware of when they go to vote this November.
Yeah. Philadelphia abortionist Dr. Kermit Gosnell died this week in prison, Michael. That's a name that Pennsylvanians won't soon forget. His house of horrors and the legislation that came as a result of that. Talk, if you would, about that legacy of death that he left in the Commonwealth, and we're still feeling the effects of today.
Yeah, that term House of Horrors doesn't do justice to what was going on in Kermit Gosnell's abortion clinic. Just atrocious, horrific circumstances there. He was convicted of murder because of the indiscriminate killing of babies through botched abortions that were born alive, and he would snip their spinal cord. And that led to murder charges that put him in jail. But also what was found in the investigation of his clinic was decrepit conditions that put women's health at risk. And out of that discovery, basically, the legislature passed passed a law that put strict health and safety regulations on abortion clinic that ended up with nearly a dozen of those clinics closing across the state because they either refused to meet those health and safety standards or simply failed in future inspections. So there was some good that came out of it, but it did highlight just how gruesome the abortion industry is across the board.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. They tackled even more topics than that today, and you can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. You're listening to the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
What happens when gratitude slowly turns into pride and quiet self-reliance over time? Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. In 2 Kings 20, King Hezekiah miraculously recovers from a deadly illness after God graciously extends his life. Soon after, envoys arrive from Babylon. Flattered by their attention, Hezekiah gives them a grand tour showing off his gold, silver, spices, and armory. Nothing is held back, but the moment is sobering. The prophet Isaiah confronts Hezekiah, revealing that these very treasures and even his descendants will one day be carried off to Babylon. When we use wealth to impress others instead of honoring God, we risk losing both our witness and what we were entrusted with. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Oh, thank you very much, Rob. Finally at 5, even if people call you an average Joe, stand up and take a bow because today is National Joe Day.
The Social Security Office says there's more than 2 million people named Joe in this country. It's a solid name that is currently the 883rd most popular name for boys. And for good reason. Joe's your friend. He can be an average Joe, G.I. Joe, Joe Millionaire, a baseball great, a Peanuts character, a president, a terrific sandwich, and a good cup of coffee. But Joe is not exclusive to men. It's in the top 100 as a pick for girls. I'm Bree Tennis.
Well, thank you, Bree, or Joe. Well, that's the world we live in for Friday, March 27th, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. Have a blessed weekend. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.